We begin the current Daf Yomi Beruchas Daf Yomi. We begin on the bottom of Yom Beis, 4 lines up in the bottom of the Yomid. We will quickly review the previous Daf Yud. It was a continuation of the same pasuk we had from Daf Tes regarding Yitamu Chatoim. The Gemara actually brought down that pasuk a few times. First of all, Yitamu Chatoim and not the Chaitim. Not that there shouldn't be any more sinners. Sinners, that's not what your objective is to kill the sinners, is to get rid of the source of the sins, which is the Yetzer Hara. Then you'll be done with the Rishonim. There won't be any more. Then related to that concept, the Gemara brought in the same pasuk Yitam Chatoim regarding 5 times that says Borchi Navshi in Tehillim. Why I say 5 times? Either because it's David's highlights 5 times in the different worlds he was in that he said Borchi Navshi, or because it's the 5 similarities between the Nefesh, the Neshama, and Hashem, and therefore the Neshama, the Nefesh of David HaMelech is going to say praise to God because of that. Now, in that discussion, there came in the pasuk of Yitamu, which is one of the 5 times that he says the Borchi Nafshi, and therefore that pasuk was brought into that discussion. Then we had a story relating to, again, it's the ongoing theme we keep on bringing up of Saimach Gula Tefillah, that is a big idea of to have Gal Yisrael and then go straight into Shmoyne Esrei. So the Gemara brought in the story of Chizkiah HaMelech and Yeshaya Navi. Neither one wanted to go to the other one, who goes to who, and ultimately he said, okay, Hashem made him sick, so he came to visit him, and he says, look, leave, because there's no way I give up hope. That's what I got from my father's household, you never give up hope. And in that Gemara's discussion, they came up that what was his merit that he said to God that he should live longer. One of the things is, remember Hatayv ben Nechasisi, one interpretation was that he was Semach Gula Tefillah, and the other interpretation said that he hid the book of medicine. Then the Gemara went into related discussion because when he was davening to Hashem, it says Miki, he went and he faced the wall. Either the wall means literally, it doesn't mean literally the wall, but although there actually is such a halacha, either it means Mikiriously, but from the walls of his heart, from the depth of his heart, or it means to say that because of the wall that the Shunammite woman made for Elisha, so because of that she merited that her son should survive. As we know, we lay in this Naftarah that he revived the son. So my grandfather, who he plated the base of Mikdash with gold and silver, for sure I should also survive, and therefore he survived. So therefore the Gemara then discusses what did the Shunammite woman actually do for Elisha. She made a small aliyas kir. Either it means to say an upper story that was roofed, or it means a large room that they made a wall, and the Ma'ula was the best one from that. And the Gemara then goes and says that therefore if you want to benefit from others like Elisha, you could. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And then the Gemara concludes with the different halachas regarding tefillah. It should be from the depth, meaning one should not be in a high point, rather be low down. Also your feet should be together, and also don't eat before you daven. And then the Gemara concluded the halacha of the Mishnah that said the halacha is like a Yeshua until 3 hours into the morning. One could say Kriya Shema in the morning, but Beruchas Kriya Shema, you could even say for at least till the Zman Tefillah, which is an hour or more, and then into the day. And that takes us into the current Daf Yud, which begins on the bottom of Yom Beis. Before we jump into the Mishnah, just some ideas we're going to be speaking about in today's Daf on Beruchas Daf Yud is the body positions. What position could you be in when you're saying, or have to be in when you're saying Kriya Shema, which is really going to come down to, and we've quoted these words many times, B'shach b'chav kumecha, there's a machlekes b'sham b'sil. Does it mean literally when you lay down at nighttime, when you get up, you have to be standing up? Or is it, no, the timings, like we've been saying up until now, it's the time when people go to sleep, it's the time when people get up in the morning. Then this looks a little complicated, but it's important to see this. B'shach, it says in the pasuk, b'shivtecha b'veisecha, this talks about the Parsha Kriya Shema. When you're sitting in your house, when you're going on the road. So Beis Shammai is going to prove from b'shivtecha b'veisecha that it doesn't say erev v'vayik, it doesn't say Kriya Shema at night in the morning. It says when you're laying down. Why? Because Beis Shammai says it means literally when you're laying down. You have to be laying when you say Kriya Shema at nighttime, and standing up when you say Kriya Shema in the morning. Now additionally it says b'shivtecha, you're sitting. Why do you have to say the endacha for? Just say b'sheves b'veisecha, sitting in your house. What's your sitting? The Gemara is going to say it's prat la'isik b'mitzvah. When you're doing your own personal sittings, then you have to say Kriya Shema. If you're doing God's sittings, you're doing His things, then you don't have to say Kriya Shema. You don't have to do that. Additionally, it says u'b'lechtecha v'derech, which again, it's talking about you're doing your own walking. You're already excluded when you're doing your own thing. Why do you have to say it again? So the Gemara takes it one step further. Not only when you're busy doing a mitzvah, but even if you're just with machshava doing a mitzvah. So the Gemara is going to say, even a chassan, he's not doing anything. He's just worried. How is he going to get married, consummate this relationship? How am I going to do this? He went to chassan classes, but he's worried. So when you have a tirda of a mitzvah, not even an action, just perturbed in machshava and the mitzvah, that's why it says a second time to exclude. when you're Oisig in the mitzvah, even just in your thought Oisig in the mitzvah, you can be Pata from Kriya Shema, which the Gemara ultimately includes Shluchim mitzvah. Even if you're not fulfilling the mitzvah, but you're on your journey to that, that's also going to be excluded. And Beis Hillel, however, not like Beis Shammai, learns from Uvelechtecha B'derech, yeah, but you see it says, you say Kriya Shema even when you're going on the road. That's not laying down or neither standing up. So therefore Beis Hillel learns out from Uvelechtecha B'derech that you could say it in any position. It doesn't have to be like Beis Shammai, that literally laying down and getting up. And we'll see that as we go through and we'll review it again. And then the Gemara is going to bring, put in parentheses because it's also Lamaisa and it's a story that the Gemara brings, that ultimately halacha is like Beis Hillel, which is you don't have to actually lay down. We don't do that by Meir. We don't say everybody laying down on beds over here in Shul. You don't have to actually lay down. Now there's a machlekes, if someone did like Beis Shammai, what's the law? Either it's okay after the fact, it's not okay, and or a third opinion actually says you chayiv misa, as ultimately the Gemara will bring a raya from our Mishnah that we see someone that should be liable for death for following like Beis Shammai. Then we're going to go on to the next Mishnah, which is going to talk about the Beruchas Kriya Shema in the morning at nighttime. Also, what's going to be mentioned in the Mishnah is you cannot change a short bracha into a long bracha. If it's supposed to have what's called a chasima, when besides starting Baruch Atah Hashem, like we make Kiddush, we end off another Baruch Atah Hashem, what's called a chasima, you can't not, and if it's not supposed to be, then you're not allowed to make a new chasima. The Gemara is going to discuss on our daf the Beruchas Kriya Shema before Kriya Shema. We know Kriya Shema is like in the middle of Beruchas Kriya Shema. You have brachas before and bracha after. The two Beruchas Kriya Shema before Shema is Yetzer Arvar Cheshech. The Gemara is going to wonder why do we say darkness in the morning Beruchas Kriya Shema? Because we want to mention the characteristics of nighttime by day and day by night, and therefore we mentioned Cheshech. Additionally, the second bracha is either Havarabah, Havasaylim, different Hagim, and that is the second bracha. Now, this bracha will actually exempt someone from Beruchas HaTorah, because it actually mentions learning Torah. It talks about Torah, so therefore that exempts. Now, once we're talking about Beruchas HaTorah, the Gemara goes into the discussion of machlekes. What do you need Beruchas HaTorah for? One opinion holds you only need it for when you learn the Chumash. One holds no, even by Medrash. One holds no, even by Mishnah. And one holds even by learning Gemara. Then the Gemara continues with the Beruchas HaTorah and says that there's many different opinions what Beruchas HaTorah is. We say all of them in our Beruchas HaTorah. The Kahanim have a different shachris. Since it's talking about Beruchas Kriya Shema, it talks about the Kahanim, they have a different shachris than we do. And the question is, they only say one of the two Beruchas Kriya Shema before Shema. The question is, which one of the Beruchas Kriya Shema do they say? Possibly it's a machlekes. It depends on two different interpretations of the Gemara. Resh Lakish, it depends on what he actually says. Does he say the brachas are not ma'akiv, or is it that the order of the brachas are not ma'akiv? We'll see that at the end. That's a little bit more in detail. So again, this shiur is co-sponsored by the Talmud River Learning Center, Daf Yomi, and Torah Anytime. So we begin on the bottom of Daf Yomi base, 4 lines off of the bottom of the Yamad, where we begin the next Mishnah, the third Mishnah in this Masechta, which continues on the halachas of Kriya Shema. Now specifically it's talking about the positions, the body positions that one is supposed to be in during Kriya Shema, which again comes back to the pasuk of B'shachbach of Komecha. How do you define those words? Says the Mishnah. Beis Shammai, they say be'erev in the evening, kol adam yate. Everyone has to lean, and as Rashi highlights, which is the halacha, even if you could say Kriya Shema leaning, it has to be on your side. As we'll see, you can't do it on your back. It has to be, even if Beis Shammai says you have to lean, but it's on your side. V'yikra, you say Kriya Shema. That's how you have to say Kriya Shema at nighttime. U'ba'bayka yamid, in the morning, you have to actually stand up. Shnemaka says the pasuk in the Varam, ubeshachbacha, when you're laying down, which means the way you lay down. Uvkamecha, meaning get up, because it says uvkamecha, when you get up. So Beis Shammai holds literally that's the body positions. Beis Hillel, they say no. Call them karikadarka. Everyone says Kriya Shema in their normal way. Whether you be standing, laying, sitting, walking, Shnemaka says in the pasuk, uvelechtacha v'derech, when you're going on the road. So you see, you don't have to actually be laying or standing, because how could you be standing or laying as you're walking on the road? It says even lechtacha v'derech. Oh, so it says Beis Hillel, if that's the case, so what do you do with Beis Shammai's proof? It says when you're laying and when you're getting up. Say Beis Hillel, no, it doesn't mean literally laying and getting up. It's b'shash b'nei adam sheichem. It means the time when people lay down, the b'shash b'nei adam sheichem, when people get up, that is the zmanim of Kriya Shema, of nighttime and the morning, which we said it's unique. It's not, you're right, it's not Babay Kebe'erev, as we had highlighted in the past, different dafim, that it's different zmanim, because it's not the time of day and night, it's when people lay down, when people get up in the morning. Now, Amr Tarfin, he says, Aniha Yisi Babaderech, says, I was actually on the road by evening time. Vahatisi Likris. Now I went to lay down to say Kriya Shema, Kedevi Beis Shammai, like the Beis Shammai. V'sekanti Basmi, I actually put myself in danger. And they listed because of the bandits. I mean, laying down in the middle of the road, the bandits could just go and rob you. Amr Loi, they said to him, Kedaha Yisa Locha Ba'asmacha. It would have been fitting for you to have been harmed, Shavarta, Beis Hillel, because you violated the opinion of Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel holds there's no such a thing as laying down for Kriya Shema Shal Arvis. And therefore, because you did that, you would have been fit to have been harmed. We continue on top of Yud Aleph and Aleph. We begin to the Gemara. There's a machlokes in the Mishnah, as we pointed out, regarding the body positions during Kriya Shema. As we said, regarding B'shach b'chav kamecha, does it mean literally or is it the timings? So now the Gemara discusses as follows. Bishleim Bisil, we understand according to Bisil, Kamafarshi Tamayu. First, they explained their opinions because they said, it says, Beis Hill means the school of Hill. Their whole yeshiva, they explained their opinion. It says, obviously, you could be walking, you don't have to be laying or getting up. Now, also, the time of the Beis Shammai, they explained why it's not difficult from them, the reasoning of Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai said, wait, it says, they said, yes, but it means not literally laying down, it means the time when they lay down, when the time when they get up. So we understand the opinion of the school of Hill. Beis Shammai, but according to the school of Shammai, my time of Beis Hill, why didn't they say Beis Hill? Seemingly, what do they do with Uvelech T'chavaderech? You explained B'shach b'chav kamecha, but you didn't explain how you do with Beis Hill's pasuk of Uvelech T'chavaderech. So Amelach B'sham would tell you no. Im Kain, if it would be like Beis Hill, that B'shach b'chav kamecha doesn't mean literally laying down, it means the time of when you lay down. So name it krabba b'leika b'erev. It should have said in the morning and the evening. My b'shach b'chav kamecha. Why do you say when people lay down when they get up? It means b'shach shchiva, when you're laying down, shchiva mamash, it means literally laying down. Uv'shach kima, and it's time to get up, it means kima mamash, it means literally getting up, which obviously again Beis Shammai doesn't understand that difference, like we said, that because it's not the same as night and day. Beis Shammai say if it would have been told by the times, it should have said morning and night, and the fact that it says literally laying down and getting up, it means literally laying down and getting up. Now the Gemara asks, Beis Shammai, okay, fine. So you explain why you don't like Beis Hill's interpretation of b'shach b'chav kamecha. But hayu b'lech t'chavaderech. But this that it says in the pasuk when you go on the road. My other, what do they do with that? According to Beis Shammai, there's no Kriya Shema you're saying when you're going on the road. You're either laying or you're standing. You're not going on the road. So what do you do with that? Says the Gemara, humi bailu. That they need for the following teaching. Look at that, like learn the brayso. As we said, the pasuk says b'shivtecha b'veisecha. These parshas, hayu hadvar me'ela. These words that we say in Kriya Shema, you're going to say b'shivtecha b'veisecha when you're sitting in your house. So what does that mean, sitting in your house? That's prat lo isik b'mitzvah. That comes to exclude. If someone's busy with a mitzvah, the Gemara is going to explain this. How do you see this from these words? But from when you're sitting in your house, that excludes if someone's involved in a mitzvah. That then you don't have to say Kriya Shema. Additionally, and this is the point that Beis Shammai is coming to explain, the words of Belech T'chava Derech, when you're going on the path, doesn't mean to say that you could say it even when you're going. You're right, you have to lay down or stand up. But prat l'chasen, it's coming to exclude a chasen. Now, the obvious question is, even a groom is Isik b'mitzvah, so you already excluded that from b'shivtecha b'veisecha. Why would you have to go? A chassan is doing the mitzvah, first mitzvah in the Torah. Pirv is getting married and having children, so he's busy with that mitzvah. Why do you need another two words to come to exclude a groom? The reason is because if not for an extra pasuk, we would not have known it from the first pasuk of b'shivtecha b'veisecha, because it doesn't say explicitly in the Torah anywhere that if you're sitting in your house, that if you're busy with a mitzvah, that you're exempt from doing Kriya Shema. It's rather what's called a miyut ba'alma. It's just exclusionary terminology, as the Gemara is going to shortly explain. It says beisecha, in your house, when you're sitting, doing your sitting, which excludes if you're busy with a mitzvah, because you're busy doing the mitzvah. But a chassan, he's not busy doing anything. He's in his headspace. He's busy being worked up, that he's thinking, how am I going to take care of this virginity? How am I going to go ahead and consummate this relationship? If not for another pasuk, we would not have excluded that as categorical included in Isik b'mitzvah. So you're right, chassan really is the same thing, but it's a step further. Therefore, you need another terminology to say, and the Gemara is going to explain this shortly, that it's also included in Isik b'mitzvah. So says the Brisa, Mikan Number, from here they said, Hakainis as a basula, if someone brings in a virgin, meaning if someone gets married to a basula, so he's very busy, he's very perturbed, he doesn't know, it's hard to consummate a relationship with a basula, so then his pater is exempt from saying Kriya Shema, because he's Isik in the midst of getting married. That's almana, but if it's a widow, meaning it really means to say if she's a ba'ula, she's not a virgin anymore, then chayiv, then you're going to be responsible, you're obligated in Kriya Shema, which actually this is the halacha, but in practice today, we don't follow this halacha because most of us don't have that much kavanah in Kriya Shema anyway, and therefore a chassan who's getting married is not going to be exempted because he's Yosef a mitzvah and he can't focus, because anyway, it's not going to be any less than most of us when we say regular Kriya Shema. So therefore says the Gemara, that answers for Beis Shammai. Well, what did Beis Shammai do v'lech t'chavaderech? You know what he does v'lech t'chavaderech? It's coming to exclude a chassan from having to say Kriya Shema. Not that you go on the road. It's coming to say something else, as we're going to shortly explain, which the Gemara asks right now. My mashma, where do you see from both of these words, b'shivtech b'veisecha and v'lech t'chavaderech, to exclude someone that's busy with a mitzvah? Some Papi says, I'll tell you. It's ki derech. It's like a road, meaning b'shivtecha, you're sitting, u'v'lechtecha, and you're going, is what the pasuk says, is baderech. Now, what is a path? Ma'derech, just like a road, rishus, it's voluntary. You could go on the road, you could not go on the road. Avkal rishus. So too, when you obligated, when you're sitting and when you're going, is when it's something voluntary. But if you're busy with a mitzvah, which is not rishus, then you're exempt, then you don't have to say Kriya Shema. Now, the Gemara asks the obvious question. Where do you see anything about a path, a road being rishus? Mila eskina, aren't we talking about in the pasuk the ka'azl dvar mitzvah? Maybe this velechtacha that he's doing is on a derech for a mitzvah purpose. And still the Torah is telling us that you have to say Krishma. In other words, where do you see that the road we're talking about here is a voluntary road? The pasuk just says the word going on the road. From there you could also understand any road, even if he's going for a mitzvah purpose. And still then the Torah is telling you that you have to say Krishma. Where do you see the exemption of Eisib mitzvah if someone's busy with a mitzvah, that then he doesn't have to say Krishma? Maybe any road you're going on, you have to say Krishma. Says the Gemara, no, if that would be the case, lichte rachman the b'sheves uveleches, like we put on the board, from Bishami is coming from the word b'shivtecha. Why does it say b'shivtecha? You're sitting in your house. Let it say b'sheves. B'sheves, when they're sitting in your house. Uveleches, when there's going, then you're going to be chayav to say Krishma. My b'shivtecha uvelechtecha. Why say you're sitting, you're going? Oh, rather b'sheves didach. It's only with you're sitting. And you're going, then you're chayv krishma. But if you're not doing your own sitting, you do God's sitting. That's why you're doing it. Oh, then you don't have to say krishma. That's the source of Beis Shammai. Now the Gemara goes off a little bit on a tangent and says, if that's the case, then afilu kindness is amonanami. Now that we established already the precept, which the Brisa was discussing, which was the interpretation of Beis Shammai too, that if someone's basically mitzvah's pater from krishma, why you say only if you get married to a besula, then you're busy with the mitzvah perviyivya, then you're going to be exempt. If you're marrying a man, you're also being fulfilling your mitzvah of getting married too. Why is it only the mitzvah of marrying a besula? You're basically mitzvah, you should be pater. Says the Gemara, no, high tarid, a besula, you're perturbed, you're busy. It's hard to go consummate a relationship with a besula. V'hailoi tarid, a widow is not tarid. Yeah, he's fulfilling a mitzvah. It's not a difficult proposition to do. So therefore, you're not perturbed. So therefore, you're not asik b'mitzvah. Says the Gemara, wait a second. If the primary variable is because you're preoccupied and therefore you're exempting the person because his thoughts are all over the place, he can't focus, he can't bring himself down to say Krishma properly, then if somebody's ship goes down at sea, he has a great monetary loss, he's definitely preoccupied there, so he's perturbed, he shouldn't have to say Krishma. You're saying that's the primary variable. And says Gemara, if you're going to say that hachinami, that actually is the case, that if someone's ship goes down, if someone loses a big quantity coming overseas and then it just tanks, then he should be part of Krishma. Then alama. Then why is it that Amar Baba Bar Zavda Marav that he says the following halacha? He says an aval, a mourner, even though a mourner, and this is the point, is obviously preoccupied with his pain. He lost a close one, he lost a wife, a husband, a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, someone very close. Still, the halacha is a mourner is obligated in all the mitzvahs in the Torah, which includes what we're discussing, Kriya Shema. Chutz is one exception. I mean, that tefillin, he's not obligated in tefillin. That's, again, not on all the days of the Avelis. He's exempt day one. Shari Nema ben Pe'er. The reason is because it talks about tefillin are called glory. Like it says a pasuk in Yecheskel that elsewhere it tells us that tefillin is called glory. And by Yecheskel, it tells him when he was Yecheskel Hanavi, the Gemara elsewhere brings a Moed Katan that we learn that a lot of halachas what a mourner is forbidden in because Hashem told him you're different. Although you lost your wife, you got to do all these different things. One of the things Hashem told him was Pe'ercha chavish alecha. Your glory should be affixed on you, which is that you wear tefillin, but the inference is all other mourners don't wear tefillin. Now the reason is because since tefillin are called Pe'er, is glory, a mourner is rolling around in his pain in the dust, that's not considered glory, and therefore a mourner is not going to wear tefillin. But everything else he is chayv. He's chayv in krishma. Wait a second. Tarid, you said the preoccupied exempts you from saying krishma, like a ship going down at sea. Then why would a mourner, who's for sure preoccupied, be chayv in krishma? Only tefillin is exempt from. Says the Gemara, no. The two cases of the ship going down and the mourner is different than the person getting married to a besula. Hasam over there by besula, as we wrote down here on the board, there's two things. Tarid tirda the mitzvah. Yes, he's preoccupied, but preoccupied with a mitzvah purpose. Hacha over here, by the mourner and by the ship going down, tarid tirda the reshus. It's only a voluntary, meaning it's not a mitzvah thing that you're preoccupied with. Now, although the marrying the widow is a mitzvah thing, but it doesn't have tirda. So it has to have both. The chassan of the besula has both. Has the tirda and the mitzvah. The ship and the aval has the tirda, but not the mitzvah. The boy marrying the widow has the mitzvah, but not the tirda. The only exemption that we're doing is if someone's tarda tirda the mitzvah, then that's a person that's considered eisik b'mitzvah, being pater in the mitzvah. Now, according to some commentaries, which is the easier one, we're going to go with that. The Gemara now is just summarizing what we said before. Ubi Shammai, hahu, this that it says, u'belechtecha v'derech, Mibaylu, what they needed for, which was the original question we had asked, what do they do with it? Beis Hillel is bringing a raya from there that you see that you can walk and say Kriya Shema. No, they needed prat l'shluchei mitzvah. It's excluding someone who's even just on a mission to do mitzvah. He's not actually fulfilling it right now. He's just preoccupied that he's got to do this mitzvah. I know later on tonight I got to consummate this relationship with the Basula. That itself is enough to exempt someone from saying Kriya Shema. Now, Beis Hillel, Amri, but they have the last word. Beis Hillel say that, wait a second, you're right. Although from here you could expound that it's going to exclude a chassan from saying Kriya Shema the way Beis Shammai learned it out from, because of the extra terminology of Alech Techav. But say Beis Hillel, Memelish Mamana, but isn't it obviously also inferred that you're right? It says, Balechas Didach, only your own going is what we're going to say you're going to be chayiv. But that of mitzvah you're going to be pater. But additionally is obviously dafila baderech nami kari. But inferentially, isn't it obvious? But that you're also doing it when you're walking. You're Velech saying when you're going. Beis Hillel has the last word. They say, it's obviously Velech Techa Baderech, you're right. From Velech Techa, you're saying only your own going, but when it's not your own going, then the chassan can be pater from Kriya Shema. You're right, but it's using Velech Techa, you're going. So therefore say Beis Hillel, it's obviously even when you're going, and therefore they hold not like Beis Shammai, and you don't have to say Kriya Shema laying down or getting up. You could say it even when you're walking. That concludes that part. Now the Gemara continues as we continued here on by number 3. The Gemara continues on this machlokes of our Mishnah Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Turn about in the brayso. Beis Hillel, they say oim dim mekarin. You could stand and say Kriya Shema. Yesh mekarin. You could sit and say Kriya Shema. Omat mekarin. You could lay down and say Kriya Shema. Halcham derech mekarin. You could go on the road and say Kriya Shema. Some girsois have oisin or the word oiskin, but malachtin mekarin. You could be busy in your work and you could say Kriya Shema, which the Gemara later on is going to explain that that's actually only referring to the second parasha of Kriya Shema, Vayim Shemai. But for Shema, you actually have to be staying. You can't be busy with your work. But say Beis Hillel, you don't have to be in one place sitting or laying. You could be going in whatever position you are. Now, Umaisa, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That's why I wrote there that Umaisa and Lamaisa, because it's going to tell us both. There was a story with these two Tanoim, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Shay Mesubim b'makam echad. They were both reclining in one place. Rabbi Shmuel muta. It just happened to be the positions they were in. Rabbi Shmuel was laying down. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah talked if he was standing up. Now, Kivin Shigi is my Kriya Shema. Once it reached the time of saying Kriya Shema at nighttime, Hita Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar went to lay down like Beis Shammai. That at nighttime uv'shach b'cha means you actually have to lay down. Now, Rabbi Shmuel stood up. So Amalei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Rabbi Shmuel, he said to Rabbi Shmuel, who stood up, he said, wait a second. Yishmael, Achi, my brother Yishmael. Not literally brother, but like a terminology of that. He says, I'm going to make a parable here, a metaphor, what this could be compared to. It could be compared to a person, that they told him, Zikanecha, your beard is very nice. It's mogudal, it's full, it's fulled out. So Amalehem, so he said to them, yeah, since you're praising it, so let it be opposite the destroyers. Meaning to say, this growth, I'm going to shave it off, I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to destroy it. I praise you, so you take it off. Av kachata, you're the same thing. When I was standing up, you were laying down. Now that I'm going to lay down, so almost like I'm praising your positioning that you were laying down. I'm doing the same. Now you stand up to say Kriya Shema. So Maloi said to him, he says, I did like Beis Hillel, which is you do it in a normal manner. When I say Kriya Shema, I'm usually standing, or I could do it in any position. You did like Beis Shammai, which is to lay down. We don't pass, we don't rule like Beis Shammai. We don't go and specifically lay down. Now, not only that, there's a double concern over here. Maybe the students are going to see that you lay down, and they're going to make the halacha for all future generations. You see the rabbis rule like Beis Shammai, that v'shachmacha means you actually have to lay down. Now the Gemara wonders for us, why do you need, and not only that, why wasn't it sufficient by saying that you did like Beis Shammai and I did like Beis Hillel, which we rule like Beis Hillel? So he says the Gemara, because of Achita, maybe you're going to say, what do you mean? Beis Hillel nami islahu matin. When the person laid down, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he wasn't doing only like Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel also allow you to lay down, like we said before. Beis Hillel, we just quoted in the Braisa. Beis Hillel said you could stand, you could sit, you could lay, you could do all those other things. Why was he doing only like Beis Shammai? That's also like Beis Hillel. Says the Gemara, no, because when you let us say Kriya Shema at nighttime laying down, it's only if you were already laying down. So Beis Hillel say, stay in your position, do it however your normal way is. But over here, keeping that up until now you were standing up. And now you're laying down, which is actually a halacha, which one is not supposed to do this, because the halacha is not like Beis Shammai. If you actually are standing, you're not supposed to go ahead and sit down and lay down to be in that reclining position, because the halacha is not like Beis Shammai, as we're going to reinforce that shortly on. So he was telling him, if I didn't stand up right now, the students would see that we're both laying down, and that you specifically went to lay down. They're going to say, obviously the halacha is like Beis Shammai, that you see you have to lay down. So maybe the students are going to see, they're going to establish the ruling that one has to lay down at nighttime, and that's problematic because actually whatever happened that a person cannot lay down at nighttime, he's going to say, why am I going to say Kriya Shema? It's not fulfilling anyway, which is not the case. But still, you can do it in any position. So we specifically did not want anyone to ever do that because people might confuse it and think you actually have to lay down, and therefore I specifically stood up, even though Basil holds you could lay down too, but not when you were standing and then went to lay down. So therefore I got up. Now, in halacha, Tani Rabbi Cheskel taught a brisa, 3 different opinions. He taught, Asa Kedevi Beishami Asa. Okay, if after the fact, like we pointed out over here, if you did like Beishami, there's a machlekes, first opinion holds, Asa Kedevi Beishami Asa. If you did like Beishami, you did. Kedevi Beisal Asa, you did like Beisal, you did. Whichever one is okay. Now, Rabbi Yisrael, he gives a second interpretation. He says, no, Asa Kedevi Beishami, you did like Beishami, you have not done anything, it's not okay. They're not, like we learned in the Mishnah Masech the Sukkah, that from there we could see why we have this opinion. Mishnah in a different context says the following halacha. Someone, if he had his head, majority of his body in his sukkah, and sometimes you have these very small sukkahs off the porch, and his table is in the house, and he's eating. He's in the sukkah, but the table's in the house. Beishamai place, which actually is the halacha, Beishamai say it's invalid. You can't eat like that. We still machshin, they say no, it's a valid. You're in the sukkah. Who cares that the table's in the house? Now, moreover, the school of Hill said to Beishamai, Maisa shahalchu zikne Beishamai, bezikne Beisil. There was a story where the elders of the school of Shammai and the school of Hill went lavakar es Yechanan ben Acharnas. They went to visit the sage Yechanan ben Acharnas. Matzuuhu shayiresha beruba besukah b'shochan b'terabais. They found him this type of exact case. His head and his majority of his body was in the sukkah, and this table was in the house. They didn't tell him anything. Obviously, said the school of Hill to Beishamai, to the school of Shammai. Obviously, the halacha is that it's kosher that way. On that Amr so on that the school of Shammai said to them, what, Misham Rai, from there it's a proof? No, that you have the whole story wrong. No, they told him, if this is how you always were acting, you have never fulfilled the mitzvah sukkah in your life. So what we see from this is just like if someone does like Beis Hillel, which they hold if you're in the sukkah that way, you fulfilled it. According to Beis Shammai, you have not done anything. So too the reverse is also true. If someone does like Beis Shammai, in our context, which is to lay down, according to Beis Hillel, he has not done anything. So therefore that's the proof from that Mishnah that you see, if you're doing like the opposite opinion of Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, that it's like you haven't done anything. It's not okay. Now that brings us to the third opinion of Nachman Yitzchak. He says, Asa Keder Beis Shammai. If someone actually does like Beis Shammai, Chayiv Misa, he's liable to be killed. Why? Not. This is the proof, like we wrote over here from our Mishnah. We're Amr Tarfin. The Mishnah ended, he said, Aniha Yisi Babaderech. He says, I was once going on the road. And I laid down at nighttime Kriya Shema to do it like Beis Shammai. Now listen, I put myself in danger because of the bandits that I could have been harmed. They said to him, it would have been worthy had you been harmed. Because you violated the opinion of Beis Hillel. What we see from there is that if someone doesn't do like Beis Hillel, does like Beis Shammai, not only has he not done anything, but rather that he's going to be Chayiv Misa. That's what we wrote over here, that's the story regarding those opinions. Now we begin the next Mishnah, continuing on these laws of Kriya Shema, specifically regarding the laws of Beruchas Kriya Shema, which are the brachas we say before and after Kriya Shema in the morning and at nighttime. Says the Mishnah, B'shachar in the morning, Mevarch Shtaim Lefanel. So we make 2 brachas before Kriya Shema, which is Yitzah HaMa'iris and Ahavas Olam, and V'achas Lachareh, and one after that, which is the brach of Gal Yisrael. Ube'erb in the evening, Mevarch Shtaim Lefanel. You make 2 brachas before, which is the bracha of Amar V'Rav and Ahavas Olam. V'shtaim Lachareh, you make 2 brachas after, which is Gal Yisrael, and the bracha of Hashkivenu, which, as Rashi points out from the brachas from the Yerushalmi and brachas, that the pasuk says in Tilm Kuf Yates that Sheva Bayom Hilal Ticha. That David Melch says 7 praises I give you during a day, which are the 7 Beruchas Kriya Shema. Because like we said, you have 4 by one and 3 by the other, which are the 7 Beruchas Kriya Shema that we praise every day. Now, when the Mishnah continues, it says, regarding this last thing that we just said, we just mentioned that there's 2 Beruchas Kriya Shema after Shema by Ma'ariv time. The long one is Emes Ve'emunah, and the short one is Hashkivenu. So it says the Mishnah, you have Achas Arucha V'Achas Kitzar. One is long and one is short. Like we said, Emes Ve'emunah is a long bracha and Hashkivenu is a short bracha. And that says the Mishnah, Makom Shem Laharach, where they said the bracha has to be long. Ein Rishon Lakatza, you can't make it short. Lakatza, Ein Rishon Laharach, if they said to make it short, you can't make it long. Now, additionally, another related halacha says the Mishnah. If they said lachtem, if the sages made the bracha that you have to conclude with another baruch, like we said Kiddush Friday night, you say you start with a bracha and then you end off with another bracha. Many times you say a bracha in the beginning and you say a bracha at the end when it's often the long brachas. So if they said to conclude, say Ein Rishon Shaloi Lachtem, you're not allowed to not end with another baruch to Hashem at the end. Shaloi Lachtem, if they said not to end, like the brachas we make on fruit or on mitzvahs, we don't end with another baruch at the end. We say I'll keep right, but regarding al natilas lulav, whatever it is, you don't end with a bracha. So then the halach is then that ein rishon lachtami, not let it end with a bracha. So it has to be exactly as it was, which again relates into this of the long bracha and the short bracha, which is regarding emes v'amunah, and of hashkivenu, which are the two brachas kriyishma you say after kriyishma at nighttime. Now the Gemara opens up asking the question regarding the two brachas kriyishma in the morning that you make before kriyishma, which is the first one we mentioned in the Mishnah. My mavarch, what are the brachas that we make in the morning? So Amar Yaakov, Amar Baish, as we continue to Beis, he says it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. As we make every morning, we all know this bracha. Yetzir, we're blessing Hashem that He forms light, and He creates darkness. Now later on the Gemara is going to ask, okay, that's the first one. What's the other one? Because it's obvious that the second Berachas Kriyishma is not Yishtabach, although Yishtabach is right before Yetzir. That can't be the two Berachas Kriyishma because that's the end bracha Psukei Zimra. It's not the beginning bracha of Berachas Kriyishma. It's like by Hal, where you start with a bracha and you end with a bracha. So to Kriyishma, so to Psukei Zimra starts with Baruch Shama and ends with Yishtabach, and actually, as Rashi points out, you could even say Yishtabach before Zman Kriyishma if you want to. It's not part of Kriyishma, it's the end. So the Gemara is going to ask, so what's the second one? Because you only mentioned the Yetzir Beruchas. But first the Gemara asks on them and says, wait a second, why do we say those words? Lema, let us say Yetzir he forms light, uvari neiga, and he creates twilight. Why do we have to say a negative terminology of darkness? Say twilight. Says the Gemara, because we say as it's written in the pasuk. The pasuk says in Yeshaya, Yetzir v'cheshech eiseh shalom b'yirah. So we say the exact wording of the pasuk. That's what. Says the Gemara, wait a second. There's a double standard here. If that's the case, because you're just saying the words that's written in the pasuk, look at the pasuk in Yeshaya over there. It says eiseh shalom b'yirah. He makes peace and he creates bad. Do we say in the Beruchas Kriyishma of Yetzir do we say it's written? No, rather ksivra. Although it says in the pasuk bad, b'krin hakol. In the bracha, when we say Yetzir v'cheshech eiseh shalom b'yirah es ha kail, we don't say ra. Rather, because lishnem ali, we want to say a clean, elevated terminology. We don't want to say bad, so we say that he makes everything. So Achanami says, and then you're back to the question. Let us say twilight. Lishnem ali, which is an appropriate euphemism. Why talk about darkness, which is always connotes evil and bad? Say noiga. So it says the Gemara, you're right. That's not a good answer because it's a double standard. Are you keeping the terminology of the pasuk or not? Ella Amarava, rather Rava says you're right. We really would say noiga, just like instead of saying ra, we say hakol. But why do we say chayshich? It's kedei lahazker midas yem balayla, because we want to keep the characteristics of daytime mentioning at nighttime. Umidas layla b'yem. We want to talk about the characteristics of nighttime, which is chayshich, by the daytime. Meaning we want to keep that you should know that the gods are not, there's a god of day and the god of nighttime. It's the same Hashem. During daytime we mention nighttime, and nighttime we mention daytime, and therefore we say that. So says the Gemara, okay, Bishlam midis laila b'yem kedarin. We know that you mentioned the characteristic of nighttime during the daytime, like we just said. We mentioned chayshich during the Beruchas Kriyishma of the morning by Yetzir, which is Yetzir v'chayshich. But mentioning the characteristic of daytime at nighttime, where do you find that? Where do you see by Beruchas Kriyishma of nighttime that you mentioned day? So Abaye says, we're going to say this tonight when we daven Ma'ariv. Hashem removes the light from the darkness, and the darkness is from the light. So you see that we're mentioning the light at nighttime. So fine, that's the first of the Beruchas Kriyishma. Now the Gemara continues and says, okay, v'idach, the other of the two Beruchas Kriyishma that you say before Shema in the morning, Mahi, what is that? So Rabbi Shloimy, he says it's a hava rabbah, that we talk about the abundant love that God has for us. To his son Ribbataz, that it's a hava rabbah, that there's a great love. And Tanam Hach is certainly in the Brisa that ain't we don't say in Beruchas Kriyishma in the morning an everlasting love. Ela hava rabbah, rather we say an abundant love. But actually the Gemara brings, it's a machlekes Rabban Amri, they say no, it's a havas olam, that it's an eternal love. And they bring a pasuk, it says a pasuk in Yirmiyah. V'havas olam ahavtich. We see that Hashem says that an eternal love I'm going to love you. Therefore I draw you kindness, which Taisus points out, which is minig Ashkenaz, that therefore, since there's a machlekes, do you say hava rabba, havas olam? In the morning, by Nisach Ashkenaz, they're going to say hava rabba. And the reason for that is based on a pasuk that says chadashim will become rabba munasecha. In the morning it mentions rabba. And by nighttime they say havas olam, but as other minhagim have it, that they say in the morning also havas olam, sometimes avarabba, havas olam, there's different minhagim, but that's all based on this sugi over here in the Gemara where you see it's a machlekes regarding what's the proper text. Now the Gemara continues and brings another teaching from Ba'amar Behuda Mishmul, continuing on this halacha of this bracha that we just mentioned. He says, which seems to be secondary, but it's still talking about this bracha of havas olam, of havarabba. Hishkim lishnois actually kara kriyishma. Let's say somebody gets up in the morning to go ahead and learn before he actually said kriyishma yet. Like we have in the morning. We say we have a shiur before davening, so the halacha is tzarich levarach. So you have to go to make a bracha on the Torah learning that you're going to do. But Mishakara Kriyishma, let's say you already said, you davened, and you said Kriyishma, then in Tzarech Levarach, then you don't have to make Birchas HaTorah anymore. Why? And this is actually the halacha. Shekvar nifta b'Avarabba. You already exempted it by saying the Birchas Kriyishma of Ahavarabba, because in the Bracha of Ahavarabba, it mentions like a Birchas HaTorah type. It says, Hashem put into our heart to learn, to teach, to keep, to fulfill all the words of your holy Torah, and to teach them the statutes of your desire. So it's like a mini Birchas HaTorah, therefore one wouldn't have to say Birchas HaTorah anymore. Now, continuing on this theme of, now that we mentioned Birchas HaTorah, because it came in because we said if you say with the second of the Birchas Kriyishma of Ahavarabba, that you don't have to say Birchas HaTorah anymore, so now the Gemara gets into a discussion of Birchas HaTorah. Rav Huna says, Lemikra tzarech levarach. If you're coming to learn Chumash, then you have to go ahead and say Birchas HaTorah. Lemidrash ain't tzarech levarach, but if you're coming to learn Medrash, which is expounds on the words of the Pesukim, you don't have to make Birchas HaTorah, because the primary is the Mikra. Rabbi Lazar says, no, the Mikra ula Midrash tzarech levarach. Not only Mikra, Midrash is very close to Mikra because, like the Mechilta, the Sifra, the Sifri, they're all expounding the words of Pesukim. They're like an extension of the Mikra, so then you have to make Birchas HaTorah. But the Mishnah in the Tzarech Levarach, you learn the oral law is not the Torah, it's the interpretation of the Torah. Then you don't have to make Birchas HaTorah. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, Af Mishnah not make Tzarech Levarach. Even you learn the Mishnah, you have to say Birchas HaTorah. Aval Talmud in the Tzarech Levarach. If you're learning Talmud, you learn Gemara, then you don't have to make Birchas HaTorah. Because, and that's even before Havarab, we're talking in general, you don't have to make Birchas HaTorah when you're learning Gemara. But for Rav Amma, as we actually rule, he says, no, Afla Talmud tzarech levarach. No, even on the Talmud, you have to make a Birchas HaTorah, because actually, it's the primary Torah. Because all ruling comes from the Gemara. Gemara explains... Because there's Pesukim in the Gemara, so you're doing Mikra anyway. Oh, so you're asking a question, you're saying that anyway you would have to make Birchas HaTorah on the Gemara, because it has Pesukim inside of there. It's actually a very good point, because shortly we're going to quote, in literally a few lines, a proof that's brought, and it seems to be that there's Gemara in Mishnah, and there's Mishnah in Gemara, and yes, and therefore it would seem like you would have to make a bracha anyways. But that's a question if that's really learning the Chumash, or that's only secondary, but that's definitely a good point. So why is Gemara the primary? Because that's really the logic of the reasons of the Mishnah. It explains the contradictory Mishnah is there's words missing. You can't learn Mishnah, you can't learn Mikra, you can't learn anything if you don't learn Gemara. All ruling comes from there. Therefore he says, of course you have to make Birchas HaTorah on Gemara. And the proof is, which alludes to this idea you just said, the Amr of Chiya Barashi says, Zimnat Sagin have a ke'imna kamei de Rav. He says, many times I was in front of Rav, Lisnuye Pirkin besifra de Rav, to learn different chapters of the Sifra of the yeshiva of Rav. Now, the problem with this proof is, he's trying to prove that you make Birchas HaTorah and Gemara. The problem is, Sifra is Medrash. How could you prove from here that you actually make Birchas HaTorah and Gemara that's related to the idea you're saying? Because the Mefarshim explained that, because he didn't just learn the Sifra. He explained the logic and the reasoning and the contradictions, and he resolved them. That is what Gemara is. So therefore, that you see that in Gemara, in the Sifra is Gemara, and Gemara can be Psukim. You could have that, and in the Chanami. Therefore, since they were learning the Gemara on the Sifra, and you see that have a makdim, the kamashiyah, he would get up, he would wash his hands, ubarach, he'd make Birchas HaTorah, umasnalam pirkin, and then he would teach us the chapters in depth, which is Gemara. So you see that you have to make Birchas HaTorah even on Gemara. That's what we wrote on the board, that we said that there's the Birchas HaTorah, it's a machlekes if it's only Mikra, or even Midrash, or even Mishnah, or as our halacha is, even on Gemara. Now the Gemara continues and says, okay, so we know this is Birchas HaTorah. My mavarach, what is the blessing you make when you're coming to learn Torah? So remember, the Mishmul, he says, Asher Kedushan b'mitzvah. So we bless Hashem that He sanctified us in His mitzvahs. V'tzivanu la'asik b'divrei, and He commanded us to involve, to toil in the words of Torah. Now, Rabbi Yochanan Messiah Bahachi, he concluded, because although it opens up with a baruch, and we say la'asik b'divrei, but you always have to conclude with a baruch. It's one of those baruchas that need a chasima. So you have to have a continuation of a topic to make a new baruch atah Hashem. So he would conclude with the following words. Haravna Hashem Elokeinu, make it sweet for us, Hashem, our God, meaning it should be sweet for us that we should have a desire, a motivation to learn. It's not enough to, I have to learn. You want to, Hashem, make it sweet for us, as Divrei Sirascha B'finu, the words of your Torah in our mouth, Uvefiyas Amcha Beis Yisrael, in the mouths of your people, the Jewish people, V'niya Anachnu B'tzetzoyin, it should be us and our children, B'tzetzoy Amcha Beis Yisrael, and all the children of all the Jewish people, Kalanu Yedish Shemecha, we should all know your name, and toil in your Torah. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, Hashem, Hamalam Torah Lam Yisrael, who teaches Torah to His people, the Jewish people. And Rashi says not to have the girsa, as some seem to have had, of Lamdeinu Chukecha, teach us your statutes. It almost sounds like a Birchas HaTorah. Now, on that he says, no, that's not a blessing and a thanks for the past, which is what Birchas HaTorah is thanking Hashem. It's not, it's actually a request. David, when he said this pasuk in Tilim Kuf Yotes, he wasn't saying it as a blessing. He was saying a request. He was saying, Hashem, you that are blessed, teach me your statutes. That's not what Birchas HaTorah. Birchas HaTorah is not asking a request from Hashem. It's a blessing. It's a birchas hashvach, haydah, whatever it is, different interpretations. But therefore, that can't be lamdeinu chukecha. Rather, it's like the bracha we just wrote down, the blessing with Torah. Now, Rav Nuna, he gives a different birchas Torah. He says, no, the bracha on the Torah is asher bacha banu mikol amim, that Hashem, you are blessed that you chose us from all the nations of the world. The nasal us Torah, and He gave us His Torah. Baruch Hashem, that's not Torah. Blessed you Hashem who gives the Torah to the Jewish people. Now, Amar Rav Nuna, he says actually this bracha that Rav Nuna himself just said, Zuhi Ma'ulisha Bebrachas. This is the best of all the blessings of the Birchas of Torah. Why? Because first of all, it's praising God. It's also talking about the praise of the Torah, that Torah is such a good thing, that we got it. And also talking about the praise of the Jewish people, that Hashem chose us. So therefore, that's the bracha that we make when we come to actually get an aliyah. Now, the Reb Kiva Eger brings here in the Gilin Shas that the Rif and the Rush have a girsa over here, Amra Papa, because many times we're going to find in Shas that Amra Papa, he says the following words. Reb Papa says, since you have a machlekes, what should be the right words, right bracha, hilkach lamrinu l'kulu. Since anyways, these are beautiful praises, these are beautiful brachas, we say all brachas as we do. We say lasik b'divrei Torah, we say baharavna, and we say asher bacha banu mikol amim. We say all those brachas when we're making birchas Torah. Now, we continue a related discussion, which again, in our Mishnah, in our Gemara, we're discussing the Birchas Kriya Shema. What's the brachas we make in Kriya Shema? Before Kriya Shema, which we spoke about Yitzhar and the Havas Olam, the Gemara is going to introduce a related topic. It's not Hasim. We learned about the Mishnah Masechtas Tamid. Amalem Amamuna, the appointed one, who he's what's known as the Skan. The Skan was the deputy right behind the Kohen Gadol. He was the one that was in charge of the Kahanim. So the appointed one would tell to the Kahanim, who the Mishma, the group of that day, in the morning time, he would tell them, okay, Baruchu Bracha Achas. Make one blessing, and they would make this one blessing, which Gemara is going to shortly explain which blessing are we talking about. It's one of the two Birchas Kriya Shema that you make before Kriya Shema. He would tell them, make one of them, which the Mishnah over there describes the whole order of the morning avodah that the Kohen would do in the morning. And of that, the Mishnah says that after they organized the limbs on the ramp and they salted it, then they came down to the Lishkas HaGazas, which is the chamber of the Yun stone, which that's where they would say Shema. And of that, the Mishnah tells us that, which our Gemara is quoting, that the deputy would tell them, okay, make one of the Birchas Kriya Shema, and they would make it. And then, additionally, what they would say by their shachars was V'kara Aseres Adibros. They would also recite the 10 Commandments. Shema, they would say the Shema, Vayim Shema, the second parasha, Vayim, the third parasha. U'Baruch Ha'am, and they would make, it means with the people, Gimel brachas. They would say 3 brachas, which is already after the Shema, which was Emes V'Yatziv, which is the Birchas Kriya Shema after Shema. You have Avodah, they would say the bracha, what we call as Ritzei, because they just did the morning sacrifice. After they did the morning Avodah, they would say, Ritzei Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem, let it find favor, the service of your Jewish people and their fiery burning sacrifices, and you should accept their tefillas, Beratzen, blessed are you Hashem, who He accepts the service of His Jewish people, willingness. Or Rashi actually brings a different interpretation. It's actually the bracha we make on Yom Tov, that Oischa Levadcha B'yira Navid, that you alone we totally serve. But it's a bracha on the avodah, which is what the bracha of Ritzei really is. Ubrichas Kehanim, and they would also bless, the Kohen would bless the people. Now the rest of Shemoneh Esrei, they had no time because they were busy doing the avodah. Now actually, it's not even the time of even saying Kriya Shema. As the Gemara says in Masechtas Yomim, Daf Lamed Zayin Beis, if someone says Kriya Shema with the Kohanim of that Mishmer, or the people of the Maimon, which were Yisraelim, who were looking over the carbon as it was being brought, hasn't fulfilled his mitzvah, because actually they would do it too early for Zman Kriya Shema. So therefore, as we see, they didn't really make the tefillas because it's too early. But they said Kriya Shema anyway because it's a way of being makabel ol malchus shemayim. Now, moreover, says the Mishnah, u'b'Shabbos meisivim bracha achas. On Shabbos they would add one more bracha, which the Gemara is going to explain. Lemishma hayetzi, the mishmer that was leafing, because on Shabbos the Kahanim, the way they did, they had 24 mishmaris, 24 groups. Every single Shabbos they would switch to the next group, as the Gemara says in Sukkot Daf Nunvav and Beis. So the outgoing mishmer, they would do the first half of the avodah on Shabbos. They would bring the Tamid Shel Shachar, the morning sacrifice, with the Karban Musaf, and then the afternoon mishmer, they would do the evening Tamid, the Tamid Shel Bein Habayim, and the Bezichin, which they would took the spoonfuls of the frankincense. So the outgoing, the one that was leaving, that group of Kahanim, besides saying the regular Birchas Hashachar, that which we just said they would also say another special bracha. Say the Gemara, my bracha achas. This is going back on the Reisha. You said that there's one of the two brachas of Birchas Kriya Shema that the Kahanim would say. Which one of the Birchas Kriya Shema did the Kahanim say? So says the Gemara, Ki had the Reb Abba, Reb Yisi bar Abba, iklu lahu astra. These two Amiram were once going to a certain place, and they asked him this question. My bracha achas, what was the one bracha of Birchas Kriya Shema instead of the two that the Kohen would make every single day in the morning? So the Gemara tells us, Lahav b'yadai, they didn't have the answer. So Asur Shailu Rav Masna, they came to ask Rav Masna. Lahav b'yadai, he didn't know the answer. So Asur Shailu Rav Yehuda, they came to ask Rav Yehuda. Amalahu, he said to them, Hachem Shmuel, this is what Shmuel said. It's a Hava Rabbah. Which one of the two did they say? Not Yitzhar, they said a Hava Rabbah. Now, however, the Gemara brings that Amr b'Zeka, Amr Rabami, Amr b'Shim b'Lakish. He says, no, the one bracha they made was Yitzhar and not a Havarabba. Now, however, the Gemara points out, Kiyas Rabbi Yitzchak by Yosef Amar, when he came, he said that actually Hadar B'Zreika, this teaching of Rabbi Zreika that he said from Rish Lakish that the one bracha the Khan made was Yitzhar and not a Havarabba, Lav B'Feir Shitmer. It actually was not explicitly said. In other words, he didn't hear explicitly from Rish Lakish that he said explicitly that what's the one bracha, that it's that of Yitzhar. He inferred it, he deduced it from logic, from Rish Lakish's teaching, that it must be the one bracha he held was Yitzhar. Why? Because the Amr B'Zek Amr Bami, he quoted Amr Shimon Lakish. Rabbi Shimon Lakish says a different teaching, that from that you could infer that he held Yitzhar. Because he said as follows, he says, Zayis Emeris, this tells us, in other words, from the fact that the Mishnah tells us that they made only one bracha, so obviously, says Rish Lakish, brachas in ma'akva zu azu. Obviously, the brachas are not integral one from the other, meaning if you make one of the brachas and you don't make the second one, then you fulfilled your obligation from that one bracha that you made, and the other bracha is not ma'akva to say, oh, you need both. It's not good one without the other. No, one is good without the other. So it says the Gemara, from here is where Reb Zreika inferred that obviously Rish Lakish held that the one bracha they kind of made was Yitzhar and not a Havarabba. Why? So the Gemara explained. If you say that the one bracha that the Kam said was the bracha of Yitzhar and not a Havarabba, even though it already was the time of saying a Havarabba, because you could even say a Havarabba when it's still nighttime, because it's not dependent on any daytime. Now, for sure, if they're saying Yitzhar is, you can't say Yitzhar unless it's already light time, because it's told about blessing God that He formed the light. So for sure then, if you're saying Yitzhar is already the time of saying a Havarabba, and still you're saying that they didn't say a Havarabba, oh, okay, from that you could infer, obviously you see that brachas are not integral one from the other. They're like Havarabba, because they didn't say Havarabba. You could say it and you're not saying it, obviously you don't need to say it. However, as it contains top of Yud Beis Amid Aleph, Eli Amrit, but if you say that no, the one bracha that they said was a Havarabba Amri, then my brachas in ma'akva zu azu. Where would you infer? What would be your proof that brachas are not integral one from the other? No. Maybe you have to say both to fulfill it. Maybe this said in the morning they only said Ahav not Yitzhar. Mishum delay matizman Yitzhar. It didn't come time to say Yitzhar. And v'chimatizman Yitzhar. And when it comes time for Yitzhar, maybe then later on they said it. Now, although we said it's not time Yitzhar, then how they say Kriyishma? So that's only because you're right. It's not this man Kriyishma yet. As the Gemara says in Yuma and Lamed Zayman Beis, if you say Kriyishma with the Anshi Mishma, you didn't have to fulfill your obligation because they say it too early. They said it because they want to Makabal Mal Shemayim. But really this man Yitzhar didn't come yet. Maybe if they said a Havarabba, then that wouldn't be a Ryan brachas emak v'zuzu. Obviously you see brachas emak v'zuzu. Oh, it must be they said Yitzhar. Saying Yitzhar, I mean you could say Havarabba and you're not saying it. Obviously you don't have to say it. And therefore you say brachas emak v'zuzu. Again, because it was a Havarabba, then okay, maybe it could just reach the time yet, but you have to say it is emak v'zuzu. So the Gemara asks, okay, so be machlala. So if it is an inference, what's the difference? Who cares? Why do you have to tell me? I just want you to know, he didn't explicitly say it. He inferred, he deduced it from his statement. Who cares? It's almost like as if he explicitly said it, because that was definitely a good deduction that obviously must be Yetzirah. So now the Gemara says, no, I wanted to tell you it's an inference because I could tell you it's not an absolute proof. Because the imachlala, because if it was only inferred, la'olam, truthfully I would tell you a havarabba avami. I could tell you there's no machlekes. Rish Lakish agreed to the other opinions that the one bracha that was made was havarabba, not yitzhar. But b'chimat azman yitzhar, and you're right. When it comes time for yitzhar, later on in the day when it lights up, havarabba, they did say, wait a second, if they did, so my brachas emak v'zuzu. So what did Rish Lakish say when he says the blessings are not ma'akab on the other? It doesn't mean the blessings. Of course you have to say both blessings. It means seder bracha, it means the order of the blessings. Meaning, if you go ahead and you say a havarabba first, which is the later bracha, and you say it first, which is that interpretation of saying that Rish Lakish, like everybody else, that the one bracha they said in the moment is havarabba, not yitzhar, and they only said yitzhar later on because maybe brachas are makvazu. It just means the seder bracha not makvazu. You could say the second bracha before the first bracha, and again, therefore, he said it's not obvious because if it's machlala, you could actually say that he does not disagree. It's not yitzhar, it is a havarabba. And it's not the brachas namakvid, but it's the seder of the brachas that's namakvid. So we spoke about today on Beruchas Daf we spoke about the new Mishnah, about the body positions that a person has to, or could be in during Kriyishma, which depends on how do you interpret the pasuk, V'shach b'chav kamecha, which is machlekes Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai say literally, you got to lay down, you got to get up. Beis Hillel say no, it means timings. Now that related to this little more sophisticated chart of how to translate the words in the pasuk b'shevtecha b'veisecha when you're sitting in your house, and the melechtacha b'derech when you're going on your road. Beis Shammai inferred that it doesn't say erev and vaiker. If you're talking about just the timings, so say at nighttime and the morning time. Why are you saying when you're laying down when you're getting up? Because you literally need to lay down and get up. That's Beis Shammai. Now, Beis Hillel, however, learned it's the timing, and they'll prove why it means to say that it doesn't have to be literally, because it says u'belech techav. So although u'belech techav according to Beis Shammai means, you know why it says u'belech techav? No, not because to go. Beis Shammai say it's coming to tell you a double down from this. What's this? When it says b'shivtecha b'veisecha, what's b'shivtecha? You're sitting. Say b'sheves. B'sheves, when you're sitting in your house, what's you're sitting? Oh, that excludes if you're busy with a mitzvah, not you're sitting. God's sitting, then you have to say kriyishma. And then again you're going. I already excluded mitzvah from b'shivtecha. What's a b'lechtecha? Oh, it's taking it a step further. That the Brisa says, which is going like Beis Shammai, that even if you're not actually doing a mitzvah, you just have a machshava of a mitzvah, you're just preoccupied, who is like a chassan who has a tir de the mitzvah. He's preoccupied with a mitzvah. Now, the reason why that's important is because a mourner or someone's ship goes down, he's also preoccupied, but it's not for a mitzvah purpose. And although someone's marrying a almana, he's also busy with a mitzvah, but he's not preoccupied because it doesn't have the challenges of consummating the relationship. It's only a chassan for a besula who, as the Gemara calls a shluchei mitzvah, even if he's not doing the mitzvah, but he's on the way to do the mitzvah, that's considered excluded from having to say kriyishma, because that's not u'belech techa b'derech, that's God's mission and not your own. But again, like we said, Beis Hillel holds, yes, I understand b'lech techa, you're learning out what Beis Shammai's teaching is, but it says b'lech techa, it says when you're going. And therefore Beis Hillel has the last word, and they say, obviously you could say even when you're going, it's not like Beis Shammai that you have to actually lay down and get up. You could even say it in any position that you want to. Now then the Gemara brought a story, which was also lemaisa, which in practice was the halacha. The halacha is like Beis Hillel. Now, but there's a machlekes, if someone did like Beis Shammai, he went to lay down, and he didn't do in his regular position, what's the halacha? One position says, okay, if he did like Beis Shammai, fine. The other one says, no, it's not okay, I've not felt the obligation. The third opinion says, you chayv misa, and the proof is from our Mishnah. Because Rav Tarfon says, I was going on the road and went to lay down because of the bandits, and I almost could have been harmed. They say, you know what, it would have been worth it that you've been harmed because you didn't look Beis Hillel, you did like Beis Shammai. That's something that's chayv misa, that's not appropriate to do. As we said, because in halacha that could create confusion. Then we went to the next Mishnah. We spoke about Beruchas Kriyishma in the morning and in the evening. And we spoke about the 7 brachas, the 4 and the 3. And we said that you can't change a short bracha into a long bracha, and the short bracha, that came up because regarding emes v'emunah and hashkivenu, one's long, one's short, according to Rashi. And also, then therefore, the same thing is also regarding ending with a chasima. Like we said, Beruchas HaTorah, you start with a bracha, you end with a bracha. Some brachas you don't, like a Beruchas HaMitzvah, Beruchas HaPeres, you can't switch. You have to do exactly like the sages said. The Gemara then started opening by the first topic mentioned in the Mishnah, which was the Beruchas Kriyishma. In the morning, the brachas before Shema. What are the 2 brachas Kriyishma? One is Yetzer Arba Chayshech, which the Gemara pointed out. Why mentioning Chayshech? Why you talk about darkness? Just say Noiga, twilight. The reason is because we want to mention Midas Laila Bayim, because we actually changed the second half of the pasuk. We say Vayri Hakayil, we don't say Vayri Ra. So you see a change in the wording. So it's not because we don't want to say bad stuff. Rather, it's because we want to mention the characteristic of nighttime by daytime and of daytime and of day by nighttime. Now, the second bracha is either a havarabba, havasaylam, a machlekes. Taisa says, okay, therefore we do both, one in the morning, one at night. Again, that's minig Ashkenaz. That's the second of the one. Now, the Gemara says, parenthetically, that if someone already said a havarabba, it exempts him from Beruchas HaTorah, because in a havasaylam, we talk about Hashem, you give us the Torah, you love us, and therefore that exempts. Now, once we talk about Beruchas HaTorah, the Gemara says, what do you need Beruchas HaTorah for? What type of learning requires Beruchas HaTorah? So it's machlekes. One opinion holds only when you're learning Mikra. One says, no, even Medrash. No, one says even Mishnah. And one says, this is the halacha, even for Gemara. Then the Gemara says, what are the Beruchas HaTorah? And we say all of them. We say Lasik, we say Baharvna, and we say Asher Baruch Banu. Then the Gemara goes into this discussion regarding this Beruchas Kriyishma before Kriyishma, that the Kahanim, they have a different shachris than the rest of us. They don't say the whole davening in the morning. And the reason is because they're actually davening way too early. So therefore, the Mishnah says they only say one. So machlekes, which one bracha did they say by Beruchas Kriyishma? So it is a machlekes or it's not a machlekes. It's possibly a machlekes that some say you say a havarabba, and some say no, the Kahanim only say that he says Yitz'ar. But that actually depends on the interpretation of the opinion of Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish said that brachas and ma'akiv. So one opinion thought to say, wait a second, brachas and ma'akiv. How do you say ma'akiv? Must be that they're saying Yitz'ar, and it's already the time of saying a havarabba, because it's daytime, for sure you could say havarabba. Obviously that it's not ma'akiv, you don't have to say it, because if it was already the time, you would have to say both. But then the Gemara says, no, it's not a raya. Because you could say it's not brachas and ma'akiv, it's the seder of the brachas and ma'akiv. The order means to say, you could say a havarabba before Yitz'ar, because although it's a second bracha, it's the second one, you're saying it before the first one, because it's not yet the time of saying Yitz'ar, it's too early. And if it's not a raya, it could be Rish Lakish like everybody else, that the bracha that they said in the morning was havarabba, not Yitz'ar. And what does it mean? Ein ma'akiv is not the brachas, it's the seder, because you're saying the second bracha before the first bracha. Thank you, Torah Anytime, for hosting us.